How you doing? Welcome to another edition of A Day in the Life of a Surplus Inventory Trader. Let's just position this camera a bit better. So guys, the whole purpose of these are not just to tell you what I'm up to and what deals I'm doing, and you know what a day looks like for me buying and flipping surplus inventory, but I also like, you know, giving you the good and the bad in this business, because like any business, you know, not everything runs smooth. Sometimes things happen that are not great. Sometimes things happen that are fantastic. So the life of an inventory trader, it's like that. It's a roller. What I like to do with these episodes of A Day in the Life of Inventory is to show you what I'm up to, what deals I'm doing, and obviously how I'm doing these types of deals as well, and how I'm actually going from zero to profit with, you know, with these deals that I'm doing. It's been a funny few weeks, because I've actually had a few deals, really good deals, but I've also had a few deals that actually fell through. They actually, you know, there were deals that were happening, and then suddenly, for various reasons, the deal fell through. And we've had a couple of those in the last few weeks. I've also as well, guys, just one sec. Oh, I'm back. So, yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a few of the samples that I've got. I'm going to show you a few deals that I'm working on. And what I'm doing and what I'm teaching is to be looking in areas of industries that are very untapped. Okay, a lot of areas in this business, in this industry, are very saturated. You know, there's a lot of areas in this business where there's people, what I call, it's a very crowded area, what I call a Red Sea. It's a blood red sea, a blood red ocean, where, you know, it's very saturated. There's a lot of people looking for those same products all the time, that same inventory. And, you know, what I'm doing and what I'm teaching my students is actually to start looking in industries where it's very untapped, where a lot of people don't look. And that's where you can find a lot of hidden gems, a lot of, you know, a lot of good deals that not a lot of people actually go and look for. It's a nice blue ocean where it's not crowded, it's not saturated. You know, a typical example of a very crowded industry as far as finding surplus inventory is, like, number one is clothing. You know, the clothing industry, the surplus clothing industry is probably the most saturated and most crowded industry. You know, when I get inquiries through from people looking for stock on my website, the number one thing that most people are looking for is branded, you know, branded clothing, famous brands of clothing. There's so many people searching for that type of stock all the time. And, you know, I just don't really get involved in that type of stuff. I certainly don't go looking for it, okay? I don't go looking for very saturated product categories, simply because there's just too many people looking for that type of stock, and it's just very, very hard. And you can be pretty guaranteed that if you find some stock like that, you know, that company will have offered it out to lots of different companies as well. Now, if you are moving into a very, very unsaturated industry, like chemicals, industrial products, one deal that I did at the beginning of the week that I've been working on, industrial rolls of aluminium foil. So not aluminium foil that you have in your kitchen, okay? This is like industrial size, like huge giant rolls of aluminium foil, or huge rolls of paper, okay? That's another very untapped market that not a lot of people look for. You know, bulk paper. Any commodity, any type of commodity, like in bulk, industrial size, that is a market that is not saturated compared to like someone looking for clothing, or looking for mobile phones or mobile phone accessories, or, you know, I'm not saying that looking for that type of thing is going to be hard. It's just a saturated market where a lot of people are looking for that type of stock. And, you know, I'm always searching for new areas where not many people look, okay? And that's where there's a lot of hidden gems, there's a lot of money to be made in those little areas of industries that not a lot of surplus companies look. You know, most surplus companies are looking for brand name retail products, okay? That's what everyone's looking for all the time. Branded retail products. But there's so much more stuff you can go and look for. I mean, you know, cardboard, paper, metals, parts, components, materials, things that go into manufacturing. Like, you know, I'm in the food and drink business. I look for food and drink products, which is great. But also you got to think backwards and look at things that go into the manufacturing of those products, okay? Like food ingredients, for example. I'm going to show you some samples and a few deals that I've done this week. Now, I'm going to tell you first about a deal that I actually did. It was actually clothing. Talking about clothing. It was some ladies' clothing, and I worked on this deal for several weeks, and it was agreed, and then in the end, the deal didn't happen. It fell through, okay? It just fell through. And crazy reason how the deal fell through, okay? This is what happened. Quite rare, but this is a sort of thing that can happen. So it was a large stock of ladies' clothing, and we sold it to a UK company. I sold it to a UK company. But they were exporting to a German company, okay? Now, what happened was we had to send samples to the German company. And it was a big German company. They've got like 1,000 shops, 1,000 retail shops. So these types of big companies, they do a lot of homework. They always, like, they're very strict with things that they buy. And what they did was they tested these samples of ladies' clothing. They actually tested the samples of ladies' clothing. And this is the reason how the deal fell through and went dead. A dye in the clothing is a banned dye in Germany. It's a banned substance in Germany. So they couldn't buy it. So the deal fell through. And I'd made, I don't know, maybe £4,000 to £5,000 on that deal. All of a sudden, done, finished, dead deal. and I've been working on it for a few weeks, and you know, that was just, it was just one of them things that I couldn't, you know, do anything about. It was, you know, we couldn't save that deal whatsoever. It was just, it was a banned dye substance in the clothing sample, and that was it. We had to just forget about that deal. I'm going to show you a few deals that I have done this last week. Now, I don't get samples of every deal that I get offered because sometimes, or most of the time, I don't need samples, okay? Now, bear in mind, guys, that if you're watching this or you're watching the replay, bear in mind, guys, okay? Now, this is a list of all my deals that I'm working on at the moment, okay? I've got several pages of deals going back several weeks. Now, I don't own any of this inventory. So this is how it works, guys, in this business. A lot of people are very fearful that they're worried that they're going to come into this business and they've got to buy inventory and then go and try and sell it, okay? That is not that's the old way, okay? Now, a lot of people in this business, they still buy inventory and bring it into a warehouse and then sell it to their customers. That's absolutely fine. You know, people do that. Lots of companies still do that. It's just not the way I do it, and it's not the way I teach. I do it in a very non-risk way. And so all these deals, you know, I'm going to tell you about some of these deals that I'm working on at the moment, okay? Lots of different deals that I'm working on that I've been offered. These are all deals that are currently with the supplier, okay? The vendor or the supplier. These are all deals that I've been offered. So I go and get offered these goods using different methods. You know, I teach a lot of these methods on how to go and find inventory. So I'm not buying any of these deals until I've got a buyer. Does that make sense? So the problem that I had many years ago was when I had a warehouse. I used to actually buy inventory. I used to buy it and used to bring it into a warehouse, and then I'd be selling it to different customers, a little bit here, a little bit there. But I'd always get stuck with some inventory. And obviously when you get stuck with inventory, you've got money tied up in that inventory. And what happens over the year, you just start getting a build-up of inventory that you've bought, and you start getting left or stuck with little parts of that inventory that you've bought. Obviously, you sold some of it. Now, actually, some inventory that I used to buy, I actually thought I'd paid the right price, but it turns out that I didn't, and I couldn't even sell any of it. And that was a big problem, guys. That is a big problem in today's market, and I see this all the time, and I see it with surplus stock companies as well. You know, they'll buy a stock, they'll buy an inventory of some goods and bring it into their warehouse, and then they actually can't sell it. They literally cannot find a buyer for it. And I'm thinking, well, why have you bought that? Why have you bought and paid for those goods, brought them into a storage or your warehouse, and now you can't sell those goods? That does not make sense in today's market. In our business, that does not make sense. When you get offered some inventory, you've got to validate the offers. You've got to validate the offers. So let me show you an example. Okay, so all these are all this. Oh, I'm dropping it. All this is candy. Okay, various types of candy that I bought. Confectionery candy. It's nice. So I was offered this from a company in Dubai, but the actual inventory was located in the UK, which is great. Okay, that helps. So what I did, you know, this was a big stock. It was 17 pallets, and it's about 190,000 units of confectionery. Now, I'm not just gonna, you know, give a price that I want to pay and buy it and bring it into a warehouse. That's not something I do, and it's not something I teach. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to validate the offer first. I'm going to validate the offer, meaning I'm going to show it to some of my buyer contacts to get some interest first, because I want to validate it. I want to see first if there is interest out there before I start spending money and tying money up in 17 pallets of candy confectionery. You know, I want to make sure that I've got buyers. I want to make sure I've got interest for this inventory before I start gambling. You know, I'm not going to take a gamble and go, right, I'll pay this amount for this, I'll pay X amount for this, I'll pay that for this, and then hand over my money, and then transport the goods to a warehouse, and then sit there looking at this confectionery thinking, right, okay, now I've got to go sell it. Now, what if I did that and I couldn't sell it? Or maybe, you know, I got interest, but the buyers that were interested wanted to pay less than what I paid. You know, and that can happen. So people get things wrong, and it's a very expensive mistake. And let me tell you, I made a lot of expensive mistakes, you know, years ago. I made a lot of expensive mistakes. I put money into inventory that, you know, it just didn't sell. It might have been cheap as well, but sometimes I just bought stuff and it was just the wrong products. It was just, you know, it might have been cheap, but it was just the wrong stock. It was the wrong inventory. There weren't any buyers for it. No one was really interested in that type of stock. Now, with confectionery, that's always a good seller, okay? It's a big industry, it's a big market, there's a lot of buyers. Always, you know, I've always got inquiries from lots of different buyers looking for candy, confectionery stock. So straight away, you know, the initial prices were too high, not workable. So what we did was we got samples. Yeah, I got samples. And I actually sent the samples to my buyer to actually price up. So what my buyer did was he got the samples and he told me what prices he wanted to pay. And that's the perfect scenario. Once you know that you've got a buyer interest and that buyer actually tells you the price they want to pay, then I can go back to my seller and make an offer. Obviously, I'm going to offer prices under what my buyer has offered. Okay, now what I've done on this deal, in actual fact, I made money. There was over $7,000 in this deal. It's about just under £6,000. I made money twice on this deal. I'm going to give you. I'm going to tell you how in this industry you can make money twice on one deal. People think that's impossible. So what I've done on this actual deal was I actually made money from the seller, like a fee by finding them a buyer. Okay, but I also got my money from. I also got a fee from the buyer as well. So what I earned on that deal was actually finder's fees. Okay, I've made money from the seller because I've said to the seller, look, I'll find a buyer for you. But I want a fee. I want to get paid a fee for finding a buyer. And what I've done with this, with the buyer, I've said to them, look, here's the inventory of confectionery. I want a finder's fee for doing, putting this deal together with you and the seller. I want a finder's fee. So I made a fee from the seller, the supplier, and I made a fee from the buyer as well. So I've made a fee from both sides. Now that does not happen all the time. Sometimes, or most of the time, you make a finder's fee from the buyer's side, okay? But sometimes you can make money from the seller as well. The reason I made money from the seller was because I just from the conversation and the communication, I knew the seller who was in Dubai. I knew that they were quite motivated, quite desperate to actually get rid of this stock. But they were based in Dubai. But the goods were in a storage in the UK. So they were thinking, right, okay, this guy looks like, he knows what he's doing. Yeah, okay, we'll pay him a fee if he can find a buyer for us in the UK. So what happened was we agreed, before a deal was done, we agreed that the buyer would pay me a fee and the seller of the goods would pay me a fee as well. So I made money from the buyer and I made money from the seller, okay, on confectionery. Just going to show you a few samples of some other deals that I've been offered. Just a few other confectionery there. I've been eating some of these in my office. Nearly pulled a filling out. So here's one that I'm working on at the minute. It's actually some. It's basically like a supplement. Okay, this is a gummy supplement. Okay, it's got gums in it and it helps with your immune system. Okay, so I've got a load of those that I'm trying to buy. Where's that other? Oh yeah. Here we go. Now these are quite an interesting one that I'm trying to do a deal on. I've not seen these before either. These are called the Little Book of Rings. It looks like a book, but when you open it up, take that off. I can do it on this one. When you open it up, it's a little thing that you put rings. It's like a jewellery case, which is quite cool, quite cute. It's a nice gift, and there's different colours, and there's a small size and a large size. It's sort of like a book that you can put on your shelf, but you can put the ladies can put all their rings, all their jewellery and rings in it. So that's an offer that I've got, which I'm working on. Got another one here. Got some dog chews that I'm working on. What else was there? There was something else. As I say, I haven't got that many samples because a lot of deals. The great thing about the way we do it now is that because it's all online, we get the offer on email, and then we will show that offer to a selection of potential buyers, and we've got the photos on email. We've got photos of the stock in the warehouse. We don't necessarily have to have samples. I normally only get samples if a potential buyer wants to actually look at samples. I will organise samples and post them to my buyer contact to look at. So that's what I normally do. We've had some good student results as well this last week. You know, Pamir made over nearly $7,000 on a deal on some goods that were in the USA, and he actually just worked hard and found a buyer himself in the USA, and he made a finder's fee of nearly $7,000, which is fantastic. Like, you know, who can do that? Who can just make that kind of money just on the computer? You know, following up emails and, you know, communicating on WhatsApp and email, and, you know, help putting matching up that stock with a potential buyer and earning that kind of money. Who can do that? So that's the kind of money that you can make, and, you know, you can even make five-figure profits and five-figure finder's fees as well if you find the right size deals. So that was good, and yeah, and one of my other students, Parker in the US, he flipped a deal, and the way he did that was he got one method of mine that's in my program that he implemented, which was to do with finding a type of buyer. Okay, it was just one method he used, and he managed to flip some inventory in the US, and he made $6,000. Okay, so these guys are making really nice four-figure money in the bank, and that really, to me, when my students get results, that to me is like me getting a result as well. It's almost like it's as good as me making that money when I see my students making some money. It's like, it just makes me feel fantastic that they are implementing, you know, my methods and the work. So what I'm doing as well, I'm just about to, I'm just going to do a new training early next week on 10 ways to make money flipping inventory by working less. Yeah, that's my next training. So what I'm going to show you is basically ways of making money in this business, but actually doing it in a very time-effective way. Doing it in a way that enables you to actually work less hours. Okay, so for any of you who are, you know, maybe wanting to come into this business but a bit fearful that you don't have the time, then, you know, this training will show you how you can actually do this business even on the side of your 9-to-5 job, because there's so many time-effective methods that, you know, only takes, you know, minutes here, minutes there. You know, an hour a day, an hour or two a day, you can easily run your own surplus inventory business, because it's all very, very time effective. It's a time effective model. And I purposely created a lot of methods that are time effective, because I personally am always looking for ways of buying and sourcing and buying and flipping inventory in a very time-effective way. I'm always looking for ways of making money flipping inventory by working less, basically. And you know, this year I'm probably working less than ever before, but I'm making more money than ever before in this business. And that's just because of a few things that I've implemented, where I'm able to still get offered lots of inventory deals, and still, you know, create opportunities, but I'm working a lot less hours than I used to. You know, I used to start early and work late into the night sometimes. Now I can do like half a day. I can work from 7 in the morning and finish at lunchtime, and that's me done. But, you know, I can work off my mobile phone and still deal with things that I need to deal with. So I'm very much about doing and teaching ways of making money in this business, but doing it in a very time-effective manner, okay? You know, an example is, like, I hate being on the phone talking to people. Like, some people love being on the phone all day, speaking to people, you know, suppliers and buyers, and having a chat, you know. I've no time to have a chat. I don't like small talk. I don't like having a chat. I like to just get the answer that I need and then deal with it, okay? You know, it's very time consuming when you're on the phone all day in this business. I like just doing things at speed on email or WhatsApp or LinkedIn Messenger or text. You know, where I can just type things very quickly, send it, done. And then, you know, that's it. You know, I don't like these, I don't like where you kind of phoning companies or companies are phoning you, and you get into conversations and then 15 minutes later, you're still on the phone. And to me, that is just, for me, if I'm on the phone, like, I'm losing money if I'm just chatting on the phone. It's just wasting time, guys. I like to be proactive, you know, executing all the time, executing what I call cause and effect. So I'm doing things on email or WhatsApp. I'm doing things that are moving deals along. So it's a cause. I'm doing something that's going to have an effect on the other side, okay? So I'm doing things that will either lead to me getting offered some inventory, or it will lead to me getting a buyer for that inventory, or it will lead to me finding a new connection, or it will lead to me a connection finding me, for example. So I'm always doing things in a very time and speed effective manner. What I'm going to show you now is just deals that I'm basically working on, and you know, we've got offers coming through all the time. Now, guys, you know, for anyone who's thinking of like coming into this business and you're thinking, well, where do I start? I don't know where to find inventory. Like, where do we look? And you know, one of the guys that came into my program, I got on a call with him yesterday, and he was struggling to find. He was struggling to get offered inventory at the right prices, and he was just looking in the wrong places, and he was looking in places that I don't teach. You know, I don't teach it. So he was getting offered inventory at like 50% off retail prices, which is rubbish. And I said, who are you contacting? What type of companies are you reaching out to? And he said, well, I'm contacting you know, surplus companies, liquidation companies, closeout companies, because he is in the US. And I said, yeah, but I don't teach to go and look for surplus from those types of companies. They're the wrong companies to go and approach, because they want to make profit, they want to make money. The companies that we approach, when we buy from them, they are losing money, okay? So this is what I'm teaching. You've got to start at the top of the ladder when you're looking for surplus inventory. Who's at the top of the ladder? Manufacturers. They're the companies at the top of the ladder, aren't they? Because that inventory hasn't been sold to anyone yet. It's still with the manufacturer. So that, like, if you're not contacting manufacturers, but you're contacting companies further down the line, like a surplus stock company, stock lot company, closeout company, liquidation pallet company, they're a waste of time, guys. We're wholesalers. We're not retailers. A lot of people like buying from those companies, but the prices are too high, and they're making money, not losing money. Okay, I only buy from companies who are losing money. losing money. Yeah, that's what I teach. So when I show you which type of companies to approach, when we get offered inventory from those companies, when we do a deal, they will be losing money, okay? They won't be making money. When they sell those goods to me that I've got a buyer for, that company, that seller, supplier, will be losing money. They're losing money, not making money, okay? So if they're losing money, you can be assured that you are getting a good deal. You're buying it like way under factory price, okay? You're buying it way under the original China factory price. That's what I'm teaching. How to find inventory at under factory prices. That's how it works. If we can't buy a deal that is under original factory prices, it's not a good deal, okay? It's just not a good deal. And you've probably got little to no chance finding a buyer if we can't buy it under original factory price. How do we know we're buying it at under the original factory price? Because we do our research, okay? We're doing our research online. There's various places to look to research the prices. Or, without doing all the research, simply get validation from a buyer and see what that buyer actually wants to pay for that inventory. Now, that is a method that I generally use in my business most of the time. You know, I do offer goods out at a price, but I always know in my mind that a buyer is only, you know, at the end of the day, it's all about what a buyer wants to pay. It's really not about anything else. It's about what a buyer wants to pay. You know, I've had a few deals this week from that, you know, I've had a few deals this week and some buyers have actually offered me a price for that inventory that I've offered them. But it was just too low. I couldn't buy it cheap enough. So we'll walk away from that deal. We'll maybe go back to that deal in a few months and see if the seller will bring the price down. As a lot of my students know, we always go back on old deals. A lot of old deals we resurrect, okay? So a deal that I was offered a month ago or 2 months ago, the price at the time might have been too high, but a few months later, the seller suddenly brings the price down to a more realistic price level. And then we can find, you know, with more chance finding a buyer because the price is now heading towards that level where we're going to get some buyer interest. Before we couldn't get any buyer interest because the price was just too high. That happens in our business. I'm going to just tell you about a few deals that I'm working on. In fact, this one was an example of a deal that I couldn't buy and haven't been able to get a deal on this so far, but you know, hopefully we'll get a deal over the line. So I've been offered some pasta, bags of 400 gram pasta. The pasta market is like really saturated right now. Last year in the pandemic, a lot of companies were like, there was a big shortage of pasta, and then all of a sudden everyone started importing a lot of pasta, and now there's so much pasta around that it's hard finding buyers, or it's just got to be really super cheap. So this pasta, it's a 400 gram pasta, and I'm trying to sell it for under 15 pence, and I'm still struggling to find a buyer. What else? I've been offered some branded makeup. Been offered some bags, some leather bags, handbags. Been offered some bicycle parts, not bicycles, actual parts that are used to make bicycles with. Again, a great industry, bicycles, cycle products, cycle accessories, cycle parts. That's a good industry. There's a lot of people looking for that type of stock. Hand sanitizer, of course, I've been offered. Lots of hand sanitizer, which you can't even give away at the moment. Been offered some watches. Been offered some toys. I've been offered some caps. Been offered some lighting, outdoor lighting. Been offered some of these. I'm still working on a deal on these ice packs, instant ice packs. So what you do is, I've got a big box full so I can show you how this works. It's an instant ice pack. What you do is you have to go here and squeeze the top. Like that. And then, wow, that's gone freezing cold already. That is freezing cold. That's absolutely freezing cold. So it's an instant ice pack, obviously for injuries. You know, people put it on the shoulder or leg or knee. So yeah, I've been trying to get a buyer for these, and I haven't so far. I was surprised actually, but I think it's because there's an actual expiry date on them of September, which is actually quite short for this type of product, you know. So a little bit harder to sell. So that's what I'm working on. I've got a big box full of these as well. What else am I working on? Some more other confectionery products, some kitchen products, a little bit of dog food. I've been offered some plumbing products like you know, baths and sinks and fittings. I've been offered some fleece tops, some makeup, some more hand sanitizer, some toothpaste, some sun protection creams, some food supplements, some beauty nail products, and some antibacterial wipes, some work gloves. So yeah, just a big mix, guys. Just a big mix. So yeah, what I wanted to do was, I was just going to, on just the last part of this session, I wanted to talk about, done that, students. Yeah, I wanted just to talk about, this is an interesting one, okay, guys. You've got to understand that when you come into this business, okay, you've got to be, as well as taking action consistently, you've got to be patient. Now, what I've noticed is that the guys that have come into my program and are the ones that are making money. Okay, the guys that are in my program and are the ones that are making money consistently. They're the ones that have been in it. They're the ones that have been in it the longest time. So I had a student come into my program, and after 5 weeks, this was, I think last week, he mailed me and said, Matt, I'm leaving your program because, you know, I've not made any money yet. And I said, how long have you been in my coaching program? And he said, nearly 5 weeks. And I thought, who can start a business and start making money within 5 weeks? You've got to build foundations, for one. You've got to take action, two, consistently, certainly longer than 5 weeks. And you've got to stay in the game a long time, because you're building connections, and you're not going to make, you know, the chances of making money in the first month, probably quite low, okay? The first month you should be studying the program, studying the course and going back on the lessons and learning the course properly. And then I actually went into the my, the course, my coaching program course area, and I saw that he'd not gone through all the lessons properly, and he'd actually brought a few offers to me, a few offers that he'd been offered from a few companies, which we couldn't do anything with, maybe 2 or 3, in 5 weeks. But, you've got to be patient in this game. And if you're patient, that's how you start making money in this business, because it's like that cartoon where you see someone digging for gold, and they're just about to hit gold, and then they turn back because they've given in. Like they turn back and they give in just before they were about to find gold. Okay, and that's what it's like in this business. Some people, give up too quick. Some people give up too easily. And the problem is that people who give up too easily and give up too quickly, they are not for this kind of business, okay? You've got to be patient. You've got to play the long game. If you play the long game, you can start making four-figure deals like Roman has, like Pamir has, like Parker has, and you've got to stick with it. Okay, it's like any business. You've got to stay in it to win it. And if you're giving up after 5 weeks, then you're going to be that type of person who has shiny object syndrome, who will see an idea and try it for a few weeks, don't make any money, and then pack it in and then go find another idea. They're the people that are no good for this business. The people who win in this business, okay, are the ones that stay in it long term, okay? 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep going and keep going. The thing is with this business is that the longer you stay in it, the more contacts that you make, meaning the more chance you're going to make more money down the line, okay? So that is the trick of this business, is if you're in it long term, you've got all those contacts that you're building. And if you're keeping in contact with all those supplier contacts, over the year, you're going to be getting more and more offers coming through, the more connections you make. 5 weeks, it's just laughable. Like, I said to him, I'm not being funny, but you need to give it more chance. You've got to learn and study how to do this properly first. Obviously, you've got my help, but, there's video lessons, there's video tutorials inside the program. And, I know some of my students have, gone back to these lessons, a year later, just to re-study some of the information, just to re-look at some of the stuff that I teach. And, the guys that are doing well are the guys that are, they play the long game. They're in it for long term. That's how you make good money in this business, by staying at it long term. You're not going to get rich quick in 5 weeks. You're not going to get rich quick in 2 months or 3 months. But you can start making great money, okay, once you've been in the game a long time. You've got to build the foundations in this business. You've got to build connections. That's how it works in this business. But you can be days or weeks away from doing a good deal. There's no doubt about it. But as I say, if you're thinking of coming into this business, you need to be a patient person. You've got to understand that it's like starting any business. You've got to build a bit of foundation. You've got to build contacts. You've got to learn. You've got to keep learning. You've got to keep implementing. You've got to keep taking action, and keep turning up each day. It's like going fishing. When people go fishing, I've been fishing loads of times and not caught a fish. This is like fishing, okay? You can come. I can come in some days, and I've not done a deal. But that doesn't matter because I might have found a good contact that day, or I might have had some good offers, surplus inventory offers come in that day. To me, they are wins. It's not just about doing the deal and making money. A win is finding a good contact. A win is getting a good surplus inventory offer that you can work on. A win is finding a new good potential buyer that you can sell to. That's the thing in this game. So guys, I'm going to leave it at that. That's a day in the life of a inventory flipper. Look out for my new training out early next week on 10 ways to make money flipping inventory by working less. Okay, I will catch up with you very, very soon. Have a great weekend. See you later.